welcome to Behind the Bower, where we hope to offer inspiring conversations, a fresh look at arts in our community, and provide spotlights on artists, performers, collaborative partners, and organizations. We want to celebrate the universal expression of human experience through arts, culture, and community. I'm your guest host, Lauren Hood, with our other fabulous guest host, Amy Quisenberry. How are you doing, Amy?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Doing well.
I'm glad to be back.
Yes, we are 2 for 2. We are bringing another Bower Center concert to our listeners today. And I don't know about you, but one of my absolute favorite things to do during the summer is go to concerts.
Yeah, it's pretty much my main focus.
Yeah, like as soon as I feel that sunshine, it's over for me.
It's got to be like outdoor or something fun. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Looking for live music every weekend. And if that sounds like you, well, let me tell you who has some great live music coming up in 2 weeks, and that is Bower Center for the Arts. And this morning, we get to talk with the amazing artists that we have the pleasure of hosting on Saturday, June 1st from 7 to 8:30 p.m., Sam Wheelock. Sam Wheelock's A Story and a Song performance of modern electric folk music is described as Leonard Cohen dunked in a barrel of Tennessee whiskey, which, what a vivid picture.
That's my favorite quote.
I know, that is crazy.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. And I mean, you hear that and you already know the music is about to take you on like a wild ride. So we have Mountain Sam on the phone. Sam, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well. And hi to both of you. And thank you to the Bower for hosting a show.
Yeah. We are so glad you joined today, and we're really excited to have you in a couple weeks. So I'm just going to jump right in with some questions. So can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and how you got into music?
Yeah, and I'm going to sort of split this. It's sort of like a politician's answer of deflecting, right? Me, I grew up in Eastern Tennessee, and those influences. One of my aunts married into the iconic Carter family, so they were in her front yard often on the weekends in the summer, and so that was an influence. Call that somewhat on what we reference as the traditional side, but on the other side, and this is the reality, and this is what I try and bring into the show, A Story and a Song. On the other side, the second cousin played weekends in a rockabilly act. He had a big black pompadour. And when we talk about regional music and influences on me, it was those two. So on the one hand, I got to hear what had become a variation, Carter family, a variation of Celtic songs. And on the other hand, man, once you hear loud rock and roll and a guy playing rockabilly, so you can't give that up. So those are the big influences, not only on me, but on the show.
Mm.
I love that. What two vastly, seemingly different genres to combine, but I can totally see now where that led to your own style that you have now.
Yeah, and I mean, you guys are there in I think properly it's called Central Appalachia, not terribly far from where I grew up, and you see that now. You'll see that snapshot that the Coen brothers painted with their film "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou," and that's entertainment. But you see that, and you think, well, is this actually history? Well, no. But if you look around your community, the community that I grew up in, they're very similar. If you look around that, there are all kinds of influences. So, and one of the ones that you could point to outside of music is food.
Mm-hmm.
Try and get the cornbread that is made in that region any place else in the world. It tastes different.
You're exactly
I get in
right.
other places, say in the Southeast. Yeah, it tastes more like pound cake to me. It's like, God, did you guys? Is sugar required in this stuff? I don't know. Is it a dessert? I didn't think of that.
No, that's awesome.
So those are my influences on the artistic side. To throw one more thing in there, as I developed over the years, I started playing professionally at a very young age. First gig was 12. By the time I was in high school, I was going on out of state tours for the weekends. They'd let me out of school early, and all those influences come into this. And I really try with the show. I really try and let folks know, we're all influenced by a lot. And what we think is pure really probably isn't. It's probably what we think is pure. And if I can just elaborate for a second, uh, on the creative side, here's sort of kind of what I try and do, but I'll put it in maybe more clear terms for folks. I'm trying to tell you what color blue sky is, and you've never seen blue. For example, one of the songs I usually perform, I plan on doing it at your show, is Sunnyside. And a lot of people think it's a Carter Family tune. It's not. What I've done is rewritten the song into sort of a calypso, almost a reggae-ish piece. But I use the original lyrics that Ada Blinkhorn, the Kentuckian, wrote in 1899. They're in I found a Pentecostal hymnal. I also take a song was in the Coen Brothers film I just mentioned, a song called Odette. Well, that was an adaptation by a preacher from outside Asheville named Lloyd Chandler. It goes as far back as we know. It was around in this is what folkies use. It's number 4933 in the Round Folk Song Index. And then another one that references into all this, also sort of a calypso reggae thing. And I do that from time to time because reggae functions on the upbeat. When we think of things like bluegrass music, that also functions on the upbeat. The human shoulders will move as opposed to R&B where the hips move. So another one I do is traditionally it's called Farewell Song, but we'll know it as Constant Sorrow, probably adapted around 1913 or so by Dick Barnett from Kentucky. So that's what I try and do to bring all this together, to make the performing arts evolutionary, and to make a statement that, this stuff is living, it's breathing. It doesn't stop in the 1930s, and it will continue on. And I hope my job, I'm 72 years old, been doing this for a very long time. My job is to be a part of that evolution. That's my story, as they say.
I love that. I love that not only is a journey through music, but you take what we are most familiar with today. You keep mentioning the Coen Brothers film, and that is where a lot of people think of like Keep on the Sunny Side and Oh Death, and you kind of educate people on what the actual roots of that song are, because there's so much of that in music today. Even when you come forward into pop music or modern rock music, there are so many songs you'll hear on the radio, and if not the whole thing, at least a sample of it is, inspired by or taken from some other song. So I think that is a really cool learning experience for the crowd to be like, oh, that is not where I thought that song came from.
Well, and it absolutely correct, and you couldn't be any more spot on than to acknowledge that where we are in any of the arts, where we are was based on something before us. We had to get influenced by that. We wouldn't have what we currently have without that. We're good, bad, and different. We still wouldn't have it without what came before it. And switching this over just a little bit, I'm a fan of a pop act called The Police. The singer, stage name Sting. We wouldn't have that act without pop. And people don't know that, but he certainly acknowledges it pretty routinely. So I want to acknowledge that what I do is rooted in something that came before, but we also have a responsibility to the arts. and to people. We as a culture, or maybe this is just a human experience. As a culture, sometimes we don't know what we needed or what we could use until we have it. I'm on a cell phone right now. Who would, 30 years ago, who would have thought I needed texting? Who would have thought you needed texting? And now that we have it, oh, gee, why didn't we have this before? Well, there are reasons we didn't have it before, and this is based off that, and that's based off this. So that's my obligation, I think, is to not give a history lesson, but let folks know there's a lot more to this, and I want to help you enjoy it, and I want to help you embrace what we had, and the area of the nation that you guys are in, the area that I grew up in, not that far apart, are important to that. That's influenced a whole lot of music. The one of the instruments in bluegrass old time, one of the instruments that comes up frequently, banjo. Well, banjo is actually an African, sort of a percussive instrument. And it didn't change from that technique until Earl Scruggs, from the Piedmont of North Carolina, until Earl Scruggs changed the way it was approached and added a string. Well, there were folks before him that had experimented with that. So that's all the evolution. There's a lot more to it. I'll bore you to tears if I give you a history lesson. So there's my soapbox on music and our obligation as an artist.
Yeah.
I love that history lesson, though. I'm a big bluegrass fan, so I see exactly what you're saying. And even today,
Okay.
we come from like Earl Scruggs style to someone like Bela Fleck, who's very modern and very chromatic, and it's just a major evolution of music.
It is, and the bluegrass folks are very accepting of Bela Fleck. I'm not that we're buddies, but I know his bass player. Or I've met him, that would be more accurate. And then in that same line is the Kruger brothers, not as well known. Kruger brothers, who are over in Western North Carolina. These guys are from. I'm trying to remember what country they're from. I can't remember the country. They are classically trained, and what they actually do is. Sort of folk music from other countries, but they approach it with banjo, and this guy, superb banjo player, and so they approach it with that, but they sell it to the bluegrass audience, which is not one of the most accepting audiences in the world. They're pretty locked into to that form that Earl Scruggs and Bill Monroe. But Bill Monroe, and know this, I've read a lot about Bill Monroe. Bill Monroe from Western North Carolina, well, that's hundreds of miles from the Appalachians. And Bill Monroe stated that and he wasn't necessarily an intellectual, but he was a creative soul. And so Bill Monroe stated very blatantly, he said, this music originates in the church. You have to understand it originates in the church. He said, but if I design it properly, it'll extend into jazz. Tell that to somebody that plays bluegrass music today. Oh, you have some of these jazz motifs in here? I don't think they're buying it for a minute.
Yeah.
I love learning about your why for music, and that really just leads me into wanting to know the how. So can you just talk a little bit about your songwriting process? If you have a favorite song that you've written, we would love to know that one as well.
Well, the favorite song, the favorite song is the easy one. The favorite song is the last one. It's always the last one. I get very excited about it. And then in a year or two, it's what in the world was I thinking? Or, wow, this one still holds up. And I don't know why it's always the latest one. It's almost like I, my emotions overcome the logic.
Mm.
And my process, it varies greatly. Uh, what I do, I travel quite a bit,
Mm.
and I keep a notepad so I can pull over and make notes. But I keep a little handheld recorder, and if I see something, I'll never turn on the radio. Uh, Never stream anything. It's just me and a bunch of white lines on the road, and a big black trailer full of equipment.
Mm.
So I can listen to myself, and for me that's important. Can you listen to your thoughts? And is there something that inspires you? Do you see a piece of architecture? Do you see some sort of foolish billboard, and you think, oh, well, why didn't they think of this? Well, it made me think of that. So I make the notes, and then at some point they get pulled together. And usually for me, they get pulled together when, oh, I've scheduled a recording project. Okay, now I got to make all this stuff work. So we have tunes for that. And that probably comes from, I was a staff uh, music composer and producer for Cox Communications. We had a studio at the Atlanta Journal and Constitution. And as part of that, I would have to uh, compose on demand. You know, it might come to me on a Tuesday morning and say, hey, tomorrow morning we need a piece of music and we need it to sound like so and so.
That doesn't sound
Wow.
stressful at all.
Create on demand, right? No, not at all. And usually I say, can I go home? Can I go someplace where it's quiet? And so it's difficult for me. And I worked in Hollywood for a little while. Same thing there. Oh, we need a piece of music, and we need it to be sort of kind of like this. And then at 2 a.m. the next morning, you're calling somebody. Am I close? And they say, are you? What are you thinking? Do we need to get somebody else here?
Mm.
uh, so so I've learned to stash stuff back. I'm sort of like the chipmunk. I'm putting nuts aside, pieces of this and pieces of that for the cold winter nights, right?
I like that. You just kind of store up all the little tidbits and then you create something out of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I've sort of wanted to experiment with writing tidbits on something like index cards
Mm.
and drawing them out and trying to make them connect. I thought, well, that could be an interesting process in something where I had a little time to mess around.
Absolutely. You never know
So
what you
different
might
artists,
get.
and I'm guessing, yeah, I'm guessing you've been around artists, and I've known a few wonderful artists, and they get scraps of stuff that people constantly dumpster diving, and they get scraps of stuff that people just discarding that have no value to them, and in their mind they come up with some sort of concept, I guess, and then the hands come into play, and then there's something created from nothing, which is a pretty wonderful process.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You had kind of mentioned a little bit before when we were talking about your latest song, which you just dropped your latest single, Forgive Me, Mother. What was the inspiration behind that?
Oh my God, I, that that's a tough one because that's probably the most emotional one that I've written.
Yeah.
I'll give you a little back history of it. I'm lucky to have a wonderful friend and collaborator in Joseph Patrick Moore. Joseph is a high-end bass player, uh, producer, and we just happen to be buddies. And he's from Knoxville.
Mm.
And a year or so ago, Joseph approached me and he said, "Hey, I've got an idea for music for a song. You want to collaborate?" Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Certainly with him. And so he set a chord progression, an arrangement, and he said, "Yeah, I've got no melody. I've got no idea for lyrics. Just go." And as I started sort of humming the melody, I started looking through my notes and my lyric notes to see if there was anything that sort of felt right for me. And I saw what I thought was a stream of consciousness, which was an apology to my deceased mother. It was my remorse for not having been a better son. And I thought, well, I don't know if I want this to be a tribute, and I really don't know if I can deal with it emotionally. So you go through, and I got to tell you, it was tough for me to get through. Emotionally, it's still tough for me to do on stage. At a certain point, you get to where you can live with doing them on stage without getting choked up. Or maybe that's what you want to do. Maybe it's not being honest with the audience. If it doesn't touch you, if it doesn't touch you, can it touch them? So the backstory to that song is lyrically, it is an apology to my mother.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful song. And you're right. If you're really
Thank you.
connecting with your music, the people listening will connect with it as well.
I agree. My take on live performance, recordings are wonderful. Zooms are wonderful, and they serve a purpose. But I don't think that you can get often. It'd be very rare. What I would think of as a spiritual experience if you're not in the same room. There's a reason. If someone were very religious and they watched the televised or streamed version of a service, well, you, you, you get what's said. You probably get the intent, but you don't get the spiritual connection. You don't. It would be hard to get chill bumps. It'd be hard for the hair on the back of your neck to stand up if it's not live. But live, there can be and should be a spiritual experience, I think. And that's actually the job. The job is, can you be part of something greater than self, and can you set ego aside for this next hour and a half, whatever the concert is, and can you just help the people that are seated there? Can you help them feel that which is much, much greater? And that's the gig. That's the job.
Yeah.
That is such a beautiful way to put it. You're exactly right. Live music and those experiences make you feel something bigger. What a beautiful way to put that.
Thank you. And it took me a long time to learn that. Um, uh, it came to mind maybe a decade ago that, oh, gee, because I was lucky when I was a young player. There were folks that thought I was pretty good. In retrospect, I think they were incorrect. And then I realized that the job isn't just mechanical, because music only has 12 notes. It's 12 notes and it's math if you want to make it into science.
Yes.
But art, there's the difference. Art is emotional. And if you're standing in the presence, I'm my longtime girlfriend is an artist. I have an art collection. I enjoy going to see wonderful art, and you can't stand in front of the real piece. There's a difference. If there's a poster, that's one thing. A poster usually won't give you chill bumps, but you can't stand in front of a masterful painting or something that's even bigger than that, probably the dimension, a sculpture rather. You can't stand in front of something just impeccable and not be touched.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the job in live music.
That's beautiful. I mean, my next question was, what can the audience expect at this concert? But I think that was fully answered, and that it really is just going to be just an experience, like a can't miss experience, honestly. But is there anything you would like to promote for the next 30 seconds before we close
Well,
out?
here's
Oh,
what I'm. Sure. If I get an opportunity to promote something, what I would like to promote is myself.
yeah.
The real thing is we want people to attend. We want people to see live music.
Yeah.
If they want to know more about me and keep up, go to the website. It's samwheelockmusic.com. Then you can sign up for the email list, and you get notifications. If you're not interested in that, you can find more stuff. And that, what I really want folks to do is to have an understanding of what I see as my mission. I believe, or this sounds egotistical, I believe that I'm the only person that does this. And at my age, I think it's important for folks to at least get that experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. Well, thank you so much for chatting with us today, Sam. We are truly so excited to have you join us on Saturday, June 1st. Listeners, this is, like we said, a can't miss concert, and tickets are available online and at the door, so grab them while they last. You can go to bowercenter.org to get your tickets today. Again, the concert is on Saturday, June 1st from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. with doors opening at 6:30 p.m. Grab your tickets, grab your friends, and join Bauer for an unforgettable night of music. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.